We had a lady come in our office one day and she said, I am so embarrassed, I can't believe I fell for this. She had just retired and she moved to Green Valley, 56 years old. I mean, we're talking a baby for Green Valley. And she gets a call, she was on her computer that day, and she gets a call from Microsoft. Well, we have determined that you have viruses in your computer. If you will turn on your computer right now, we'll help you get through them and get them cleaned out. Okay, she said. So she was on her computer right then, and everything that man said, when all that dropped down, everything was there, just like he said it was. And then, and she was on there for 15 minutes. And then he said, now if you would like us to check your email and clean it for viruses, you just log on. Boom, she logged on, and that's when they got her. That's when that virus got in there. All of her banking online, all of her credit cards online, that virus goes in there and it is mining for information. It's mining for numbers. Well, it cost her $1,000 and a lot of time because she had to change all of her banking, everything, credit card. And she said, I can't believe I fell for that. She said, I just retired from the military. I worked with computers. But she said, you know, after 9/11, we were on high alert 24/7, 24/7, 24/7. And we moved to Green Valley and I thought I could relax. She said, now I realize it's a different kind of awareness. So we just have to be aware. A lady came in one day and she said, well, her cell phone broke. And it was broken for 4 days. And finally she was walking out the door to go get her a new cell phone and her landline rang. And it was her broker. And he said, well, I'm so glad I finally got a hold of you. I've got that $15,000 ready to wire you. And she said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, you sent me an email. And it said you're on vacation, you need $15,000 ASAP wired to this account. And he said, I've been calling you on your cell phone for 3 or 4 days. Well, guess what? She had a virus in her computer she didn't know about. But that virus was in there waiting for an opportunity to commit a crime. So she must have sent an email out to all of her friends saying, my cell phone's broken. That criminal picked up on that. They knew her stockbroker. They knew how to get a hold of him. They set the whole thing up, and she'd have lost $15,000 if she'd have walked out without picking up that phone. So you just have to be very careful. A computer is like a car. You have to do maintenance on it once in a while and debug it and get all those things out of there. I had a gentleman that was so embarrassed. He came up after one of these, and he said, he opened his computer, and it was on, and it was locked. And it was a letter from the FBI. And it was his photo on this letter with his photo. And it said, we have determined that you have been on illegal child porn websites. We have locked your computer. If you have any questions, call this number. So he dialed that 800 number. He was just, I mean, that's embarrassing because, you know, who does that? Nobody does that. So anyway, he called this number. And after the discussion, the FBI said, okay, I guess we got the wrong email. For $350, we will turn your computer back on. We will unlock it. Boy, he whipped his credit card out and gave him that number. Gone. Now they have his credit card number. They're off and running as his computer is still frozen. It was a scam. But that's an awful thing to be accused of. Now, we're pretty good in this country about shredding. We get it. And if you get anything from the IRS, there's a lot going around right now from the IRS. You have not paid your IRS bill, and if you don't pay it, guess what? Pima County Sheriff's Office is going to come and pick you up. Well, please shred everything, because that is not the truth. If somebody gets your IRS, your Social Security number, they can get into your IRS account. It's like the keys to the kingdom. So please be careful with any medical information that might have your Social Security number on it. It's really important. I had a friend that changed healthcare providers, and she received a magazine. And she noticed on the cover, the label was her name, and then a bunch of those bars, and above those bars was her social security number. That company had sent out over 90,000 magazines with social security numbers on it. So when you see, those labels, make sure it's not your social security under. I don't know what those codes mean, but I don't shred all my magazines, but I take my label off and I rip it up and I shred it, because I don't know what all that means. So if you have been victimized, don't feel like you're the Lone Ranger, because 20% of people over 65 have lost money. And those are the only ones that are reporting it. I know by talking to people a lot. Everybody doesn't report it. They're embarrassed. They're ashamed. How could I be so stupid? But until we get really good numbers, this is not going to be taken seriously. It took identity theft a long time to be taken seriously before people really started working on it. But these scams are every place. And in Green Valley, we lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. Since we've been doing this, it has gone down tremendously. But if you get one or two people that have Alzheimer's that are caught in this web, they'll lose everything. So you've really got to be careful. These criminals have mathematical equations they actually use. They know when you get that phone call and nobody's there. Do you get those phone calls and nobody's there? They are timing. We call that reconnaissance. They're seeing who answers that telephone, if it's a male, if it's a female. And then they'll call back a couple of hours later, and a couple of hours later, and a couple of hours later. And then they'll know when you're home, which gender you are, and they have these scams down to which gender reacts best to what. That's how good these guys are. That's what a great criminal they are. And remember, please report them. These guys are relentless. They will call back over and over and over and over again. If you get caught in one of these scams, one of the first ladies I talked to, she was making a report about her grandson. And she said, 3 months ago, my grandson called me. This criminal called and said, Grandma, I was on my way fishing, going to Canada, and I picked up these two hitchhikers, and they put their backpacks in my trunk. And when we crossed the border, the agents found drugs in their backpacks. Grandma, it was not me. Really, but I need $2,500 right now because I have an attorney, and he will get me out of this because these other two guys are going to be charged. But I have to have $2,500 for the attorney right now, and whatever you do, don't call my mother because she'll kill me. Whoa, she was right out, went to Walmart, sent that money. The next day she called her daughter, and her daughter said, no, he didn't go to Canada fishing. So that's when she found out she lost that money. 3 months later, she gets a call. This is John. Remember in high school when there was 10 of you girls and you got together and you made a promise that if anything happened to any one of you, that you would all be there to help. Well, Janet needs some help. Well, this lady knew that was a scam. That hadn't happened. She hadn't done that. She hung up. But this is what they do. It's actually called a suckers list. If you give them even $100, they can sell your name. They will sell your name, your phone number, your address, how much you gave them, what scam you fell for. They sell it to another bunch of criminals. And then that bunch of criminals will come back a week, a month, a year later, and it goes on and on and on. And I'll tell you how far and wide this is spread around the world. My mother and I were on vacation in the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt, out in the middle of nowhere. I mean the desert, nowhere. And I'm walking down the hallway of the resort one day, and this man was standing out in front of his shop, and he said, oh, come on in. I said, no, I don't want to buy anything. He said, no, just come in and sit down and have a cup of tea. So I thought, okay, he probably just wants to speak English. So we went in and sat down, and we started talking, and his phone was just ringing and ringing and ringing. And I said, you are such a busy guy. And he said, well, it's this guy in Nigeria. and he's won the lottery, but he doesn't have enough money to pay the taxes on it, and he needs $3,500. And he said, if I give him $3,500, he's going to give me $350,000. And I just looked at him, and my eyes got this wide, and I pulled out my sheriff's business card with the badge on it, and I said, I work for the sheriff's department, and don't you dare give him any money. And then his eyes got this big, and he said, you're the sheriff? And I said, yes, I am. And let me tell you how close he came. He had already downloaded the paperwork to open a checking account at the UK Bank of London, or he'd have lost that money. So these are the action items that we want you to take home with you. These 3 action items. Yes. This is the most effective thing you can do. Hang it up, delete it, and shred. I actually got myself a caller ID and an answering service. If I don't know that number, even if that is 520, if I don't know that number, I let it go to my answering machine. And if I know it, I pick that up. Otherwise, I don't. You know, it's just safer that way. It might take 3 or 4 months to get rid of some of these guys, but they'll finally give up on you. So the most effective crime prevention tool we have is an educated population. So that is why we are here, to inform our citizens. So now, I am making you all honorary members of the Scam Squad. Okay? Now I have a test. Angie. You can take that and take the phone.
Hello?
Hello, I'm from the IRS.
No, you're not.
Good job. Good job. Thank you very much.